Guys, it is March 28th. The Hinge 2 from ULTRAVIEW has been out for a little while now. I have not bought one, and I am not going to get one. I'm sticking with just my original Hinge. In this video, I'm going to go over why I'm doing that, kind of the main thing that made me want to stick with it. It's more of a hack for it that makes it, in my opinion, just as good as the Hinge 2. We're going to be talking over some of the differences in the original Hinge compared to the Hinge 2. And then talking about if the original Hinge is really worth keeping or if it's worth upgrading. But hopefully you enjoy the video. Make sure that you like the video if you do, and then just stick around till the end. But let's get to it. Alrighty, so starting off, obviously, quick background on the original Hinge. It released in 2020, I believe. It was ULTRAVIEW's first go at a release. This is their aluminum version. Now, it did launch with a brass version. There is a whole bunch of adjustment that you can make with the fingers on it. You can get a hunting bracket, which I have on order, but they're kind of impossible to get right now. So I'll be looking at maybe a month before I get that, hopefully. But this is the, like I said, aluminum Hinge. I have a click in there, so let me grab a D-loop. So if you guys aren't familiar with a click on a release, if you're all anchored up, getting ready to pull through, as you're going to hear a little click right there. Let me get closer to the microphone so you might be able to hear it. Just a little tiny click. Now, a click can mean different things to different people. Myself personally, if I am at full draw with this thing, after I get all anchored up, I start to pull through that shot, whether it be relaxing my hand and pulling through with my elbow, and then I will hear that click. So that pretty much means, okay, I've started my shot process, I'm inside on my anchor, and now it's just really time to kind of tighten up what I'm going through in my shot execution. Make sure my pin is on, make sure I'm just focusing on the target, not really getting a lot of target panic and shaking with that pin. That's a good kind of indicator for the click. Now you can change that. I have the 20 thousandths in here right now. They have an 18 thousandths and I believe a 10 thousandths. So pretty much the closer you get in, or the lower you get in numbers, the closer that click is gonna go off to when the release is about to go off. So 10 thousandths, if you are a really, really sensitive Hinge shooter, that would be a good one for you because you're gonna pull that thing just a little bit to that click and then that release is gonna go off. For a 20 thousandths, you have quite a bit of distance, actually double the distance compared to a 10 thousandths when you're pulling through that shot. But main question of the video is, what's the differences in these releases? So I don't actually have an ULTRAVIEW 2. I've handled one before, checked one out, but I do have the try before you buy version of the Hinge 2 from ULTRAVIEW. Now basically, obviously this isn't the real release, but it is a plastic replica of it. It feels the exact same way. I mainly wanted it because it is a bottle opener. So I wouldn't be too surprised if you saw that on my keychain. But pretty much the differences mainly is going to be that ULTRAVIEW engineered this release to be a little bit thicker in size compared to the Hinge 1, which you can see there. The Hinge 2 is going to be a little bit thicker, so if you have bigger hands or just longer fingers, it'll fit in there a little bit better. Now I, myself, I don't have super big hands and I kind of have more slender fingers, so the Hinge 1 honestly fits really well in my hand. I haven't noticed any problems with it. I like it. So as far as the thickness of the release, I haven't gotten any calluses, any wear and tear on my hands from the original Hinge being too thin. So I'm not complaining about that. I'm sure if you are getting comfortable with the Hinge 2 and you like kind of a thicker style release, this one's gonna feel a little bit better to you when you're pulling through. You're gonna have a little bit more purchase with those fingers. Another problem that I definitely noticed with the original Hinge, and a problem that a lot of people complained about to the point where they actually fixed it on the Hinge 2, is this right here. That head, when it's floating back and forth, makes a lot of noise. Now, a lot of Hinge releases are like that. But with a lot of people kind of merging a Hinge style release, which is traditionally target archery focused, into the hunting world. I know Chris B obviously does that. There's a lot of dudes who are hunting with these releases now. That does not sound too good in a tree stand. So on the Hinge 2, what they did is, if this was actually real, that head mechanism is held in by a magnet. So if you're moving it, it's gonna be making basically just about as much noise as this release here does, or this faux release here does. Now, that's obviously a big upgrade. The thickness and the magnetic head on top of the adjustability. So on this release, there's 2 drive screws in there that you can change up the actual timing of the release, excuse me, and then the click. So it's all in one. You don't have to buy different heads for different clicks, stuff like that. That also is probably what played into the release being a little bit thicker. In all honesty, I think the thickness of it was fine. They just had to make more room for that adjustment on there. But the main thing to fix that noise right there is very simple, and it's a really easy trick that I actually saw from Chris B's Instagram, and that is to get better teeth. No, totally joking. It is to use these bands, little orthopedic bands. These are just the 3/16 to kind of strap down on that head so it doesn't make as much noise. I'll go ahead and show you that now. So pretty much when you're here with the release, you just go ahead, put it over the hook, and then just fit it over the top there. You can see that noise is gone. It's gonna make noise if you drop it like that. But it's not gonna make any noise in that head right there when you're moving it around like that. Now, you can just keep one on there. I personally have been running it with 2 just because it really locks it down. And also I find that if you just have one, the head moves around a lot on the shot, which obviously isn't a bad thing. But 2 still lets it move around, but it just makes sure that it snaps back into place. So that doesn't happen. If you're doing it with 1 and actually shooting it, I've had that happen a couple times, so then it just starts making noise again. You have to go through and push the bands back up, which really isn't that big of a deal. And obviously in a hunting situation, you're not gonna be putting tons of shots through, but just for peace of mind, I went ahead and threw 2 bands on there. But yeah, that's my little remedy on the original Hinge. That's why I'm not upgrading, because it feels good to me. It shoots really well. I've improved my shooting a lot with it, I feel like. And it's, in all honesty, the upgrades on the Hinge 2 aren't necessarily worth it to me. Now, guys, what is the takeaway for this video? It is not that the Hinge 2 is a horrible release and you shouldn't buy it and then it's a waste of money. Absolutely not. It's not that the Hinge 1 is the end-all be-all to releases, and if you are shooting this release, you are going to be the next Levi Morgan, and if you're not, then you might as well stop shooting a bow. Just the point that if you're shooting a release and you shoot good with it, there's not any real reason to upgrade unless you find an apparent reason, unless you have tested that release in the environment that you're using it in, whether it be shooting at your local league, shooting at competitions, or taking it out hunting. If problems aren't coming up, and if you aren't kind of finding that sweet spot with your gear and what works for you, and the improvements that you need to make in your own gear, there's no reason to upgrade. And it just comes down to feel, in all honesty. The ULTRAVIEW Hinge 1 feels right to me. The Hinge 2 might feel right to other people. Obviously they wouldn't design it different if it didn't, but it comes down to, if you're still shooting an index style release because that feels right to you, and having a thumb style or a handheld style release doesn't feel good to you, by all means, if you shoot it good, then shoot it good. Maybe you like a handheld release, but a true fire or a true ball feels better for you. Maybe you like a thumb button more instead of a hinge. Or maybe you want to go the 2-finger route and shoot a back tension release, or a tension activated release from Knock On or something like that. Then if that's the case, shoot it good. At the end of the day, you're trying to accomplish a goal, And the way that you accomplish that goal doesn't matter, it just matters that you accomplish it. If your goal is to shoot a 300 in a 3-spot target round, I don't care if you shoot that 300 with your eyes closed. You still shot that 300. If my goal is to go out and hunt the best that I can and be the most efficient hunter and the best shooter out in the whitetail woods or out west for mule deer or anything like that, if I'm accomplishing that and I'm getting the job done and I don't feel any problems coming up with my gear, then absolutely go for it. There's a lot of hype around new products and new things and new trends, whether it be super heavy arrows or if you don't have this type of setup, then you're doing it wrong. Dude, there have been guys who have been shooting bows longer than I've been alive. And obviously gear evolves over time, but back in that day, they were doing what they were doing, shooting the gear that they were using, solid limb bows, still shooting compound bows with fingers, stuff like that. And they were killing big animals. They were shooting good scores of target archery. And I'm sure 20 years from now, people are gonna look back at tons of modern day archers and be like, dude, these guys are idiots. These guys don't know what they're doing. But you can't fear missing out in the moment. You just gotta go with what you're going with and shoot what works good for you. But I hope you guys liked the video. If you guys wanna see more and if you guys like just kind of these conversation style videos, let me know in the comments below and then actually like the video. If you want to stick around for more videos, make sure you subscribe. I would really appreciate it. There's going to be a couple arrow videos coming out in the next couple weeks here. I'm going to be fletching up some different arrows with some different fletchings, kind of comparing them. And then obviously it's March right now in Nebraska. Turkey season's just getting started up. I'm not sure if I'm going to do turkey hunting this year and record it or anything. I didn't prep for it. I'm not really a big fan of turkey hunting, but if that's something you guys want to see, just let me know, and I might make it happen. I might try to make it happen at least. But in the meantime, guys, have a good one.